Hello, my friends. This is Brian Tracy. For more than 40 years, I have studied one central question. Why do some companies succeed while others with the same talent, effort, and resources disappear? The answer is simple. Distinction comes before action. This is the central idea of PreStrategy. Most companies focus on action. They build products, launch campaigns, they optimize processes. But in reality, they are not seen. They operate on automatic pilot, repeating what worked yesterday for themselves or for other companies, while the market has already changed. Companies like Nokia, Kodak, and Yahoo did not fail because they lacked execution. They failed because they lost their position. They confused movement with progress. PreStrategy begins where strategy usually does not. It begins with a simple question: where am I? Because without a clear position, there is no direction. Without direction, there is no meaningful action. Every business exists inside a scene, a context where customers recognize what you are and why you matter. If that recognition is unclear, everything becomes harder. It becomes harder to attract clients, harder to gain trust, harder to make sales, harder to raise capital, harder to grow, not because you are doing something wrong, but because you are not clearly understood. PreStrategy gives you a way to see this clearly. It is built on 4 elements. Scene, where you are. Tension, what no longer works. Form, what gives structure to your solution. And category, how the market recognizes your value. This is the foundation of all strategy and all business success. Because people do not choose the best product, they choose what they can recognize and trust. And recognition always comes before evaluation. PreStrategy is not a tool, it is not a technique, it is the starting point of entrepreneurial thinking. It changes how you approach the market. Instead of trying to be better, you become clearer. Instead of pushing your message, you become understandable. Instead of competing, you define your position. PreStrategy also restores the role of the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur creates distinctions. The manager operates within them. When distinction is missing, business turns into routine, templates, and repetition. And over time, it becomes invisible. This is why a new role is emerging: the Chief PreStrategy Officer, the person responsible for answering one critical question: in what position do we exist, and how are we understood? Because this determines everything else. My friends, we are entering a new era in business, an era where visibility is not created by activity, but by clarity. As a foundational contributor to the PreStrategy discipline, and after more than 40 years working with leaders around the world, I can tell you this with complete confidence: the greatest advantage in business today is not speed, it's not scale, it's not execution, it is a clarity of distinction. Because when you are clearly seen, everything else becomes easier. And when you are not, nothing else will save you.